She came from Poto, Oklahoma, where she learned firsthand about the importance of helping others. With undergraduate and law degrees from TU, Sue Ann Arnall began a career in the energy industry. Today, her Arnall Family Foundation in Oklahoma City is working to create transformative change in the areas of criminal justice reform, youth welfare, and homelessness.
I don't remember a lot of specific instances. We're talking 40-something years ago. But I remember the overall feeling that it was pretty much a magical place at that point.
Here's the story of a guy from Virginia who disliked high school so much he dropped out for a while. Paul Pressy's path to success went through Western Texas and then the Golden Hurricane, where he and the rest of Coach Nolan Richardson's first team rocked Tulsa and built the foundation for TU's basketball success. After his standout NBA career, Paul has been a coach and mentor to many.
It's big enough, at the same time it's small enough. You come here, you have a different perspective on life. You see the different kind of kindness of people. And I think that's the University of Tulsa gives you that kind of homebody feeling.
This girl from the Bronx was on the path to becoming an ice cream entrepreneur when her sister convinced her to talk to a guy from flyover country. The rest is history, and today Kim Johnson is CEO of the Tulsa City County Library.
TU reminded me of my home neighborhood where everyone knew everyone. And so there was that correlation that really resonated with me.
He was all set to become the junior varsity basketball coach at UNLV when the TU Law School offered him their final spot in that year's class. After a very successful career in energy, Stuart Price and his family are now helping reimagine downtown Tulsa.
It's a wonderful place, and the combination of the university with the city is just very powerful.
While I was in high school, I worked for Baskin-Robbins ice cream store. And I started working at 15, and I fell in love with that business. And so I wanted to own my own Baskin-Robbins stores. And so I went on to manage one in Harlem and to open a brand new store, another second store in the Bronx.
Went to University of Nevada, Las Vegas, enjoyed a couple years there, played a little, and I say stress very little, on the junior varsity basketball team. I felt I was a better basketball player than I was because I went to Jerry Tarkanian, who's a legendary Hall of Fame coach. I said, "Coach, can I play varsity next year?" And as quick as this, he says, "Not as long as I'm here, son." So I headed to University of Massachusetts Amherst.
Growing up in Poto, we did everything. For example, I was in the marching band, but I was also a cheerleader.
I was playing in a tournament in Norfolk, Virginia. A guy by the name of Rob Evans, who was assistant coach at Texas Tech, saw me play there. Nolan Richardson had just took the job at Western Texas Junior College. Rob called Nolan and said, "Hey, I see this kid down here in Norfolk, great player, blah, blah, blah. Look, you need to check him out." And then Rob calls him back and said, "Now, by the way, he also has 3 other teammates that's pretty good. We all go to visit." That's how I got to Snyder, where I played JUCO ball in Western Texas.
My job throughout college was driving a truck for the Marriott in-flight services that put food and beverages on airplanes.
After the ice cream, I went on to work for the school system. And that's really where my passion for teaching and study came in. The then Mayor Koch initiative was that he wanted pre-K in every elementary school in the Bronx. And so I was hired on as the first pilot project for his initiative, which turns out to be universal pre-K today.
Nolan actually, when he took the job here at Tulsa, he knew I was in love with my girlfriend at the time. She played ball also, so he recruited her first. He said, "If I get her, he coming."
I had gone to another university initially, much to my parents' chagrin. It did not have the professors or the culture or the atmosphere or the help to find jobs. So I transferred to TU my sophomore year, and it was a world of difference. I loved it.
Earl and I met long distance blind date. I lived in the Bronx and Earl was here in Tulsa. One of my sisters had met Earl prior. and came back home and said, I met this amazing guy. And I thought, when she told me where he lived, I thought, no way. I mean, how is this gonna work? But after talking to Earl on one occasion, I mean, we hit it off on that very first phone call. And these were phone calls before cell phones.
I was ready to graduate and get on with my life. I made one application to the University of Tulsa Law School. Otherwise, I was going to be the head junior varsity basketball coach at University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
In the final championship game against Jefferson State, Mike Anderson, who played there, almost single-handed beat us by himself. Long story short, Nolan also recruits him. And Mike and I became roommates once we got to Tulsa.
Because I was in music and on a music scholarship, I had to play in the marching band. That was a really good thing for me, though. It got me out. I met a lot of people outside of music and made me do things I would not have otherwise if I hadn't been in the band. And when I look back on those, I really enjoyed it.
And Velda Staves at the University of Tulsa called me, absolutely Scout's honor. I was in the Circus Casino cashier's cage. And she called me, it was after hours, and she says, Stuart, it's August. I've got one seat in the night school left. If you can get here with a check that cashes by Monday, you can have that. It really was a spur-of-the-moment move. Didn't think that I would get into law school. It was 20 minutes, and I accepted the slot and made my way to Tulsa.
Our campus life was great, and I think the reason why is because the sports that we had here were so closely knitted. And so we became a family, and that was so important because now when you on campus and you walking around, everybody says, hey, how you doing? Hey, let's go play. Hey, let's go have lunch. Let's go. So you built a different relationship outside of sports.
I don't like to overplay how poor I was, but I was so poor I didn't have any luggage. And so I made a quick purchase of a Kmart steamer trunk, put everything I had in it.
And so I did a variety of things. So I was a full-time student, and about midway, I went to work for F&M Bank.
I was majoring in music, but we had some really all-star musicians back then. And I wasn't that caliber. I'd been good as a high school student, but when I got to college and had these people from all over the country at the TU Music School, I recognized that I wasn't going to make it in music. But I had also been taking other courses along the way, and I was taking economics, and I loved it. It made sense. And the professors encouraged me to continue taking courses.
Tulsa was probably twice as big as the junior college I came from. But the biggest thing was you're in the middle of the city, in the town. And you know, you had a neighborhood right around you. Where junior college, I was out in the fields. So that was a whole different feeling for me. And it was a great feeling because you became a family. You depended on each other, you helped each other out.
I probably spent too much time in athletics because I never missed a intramural game at TU. We had football, we had basketball, we had softball, and all of my friends at the law school put teams together and competed vigorously.
I graduated from law school when I was 23. I do not recommend anybody do that. It would have been a lot better if somebody just said, slow down, Sue Ann, enjoy this, learn all you can. But I was just rushing, trying to get through.
My major British writers course, the day of the final, close to the end of the session, she says, I don't normally do this, but I want to interrupt you all. She said, I want you all to know that you spent the semester in class with S.E. Hinton, the author of The Outsiders. She was in class under a different name, and we all had a collective gasp like, why didn't you tell us?
What you get when you have the Richardson team in there and his players, you get a great team who competed hard, and Nolan called it 40 minutes of hell. And I'm sure those guys felt it because they played hard, they ran hard. But sometimes on a team, you see the dominant player. And Paul was the dominant player. And he had such heart.
I'm thinking like, what have we done? You know, I mean, I know we won something special, but how did we get there so fast? Because to me, when you leave one school and you go to another school, and you win. It's almost it happened so quick. It was like, is this real? But I was so overjoyed because I was looking around. I was looking at the fans. There was thousands of people, and I'm going, we did something really special. That this town never experienced this. And I'm looking at my teammates, and I'm going, man, I got these guys for life. When you experience something like this, it's like you will always cherish this together.
A friend of mine said to me that there is a job opening in the newspaper classifieds that I think you'd be ideal for. And so I went to purchase the newspaper, and in the classified was the job for the coordinator of the African American Resource Center at Rudersville Regional Library. And when I read the job description, it was as though I had written it.
We fund organizations who are providing direct services. And we also founded the Diversion Hub.
I never even think about the NBA, to be honest with you. I just thought I was a good basketball player. Long story short, get a couple phone calls, hey, you on the radar, oh, okay. And end up getting an agent, and boom, 11 years later, plus 21 years coaching, here we are.
And I really credit TU with preparing me to work at a library. It really gave me the confidence to apply. I knew I could do the job. And so I went in, applied for the role, and got the job, and that's about 26 years ago.
The people who work at Diversion Hub cared more about these people who were having trouble in the criminal legal system than they did about themselves. And so that a person who's traumatized already from spending a month or two in jail, when they're picked up and they're taken to Diversion Hub, they have one person who sticks with them through the whole journey, and they figure out what their most pressing needs are right then. They keep doing this step by step so the person feels like they have a partner.
I worked really hard in energy because, again, I went to school at night. So I worked during the day at Amarada Hess downtown, drove to law school at night, got out in 3 years, went right into energy. So I was right into exploration here in town with the Sampson companies, and then went out on my own and started several companies.
I had about 7 roles in my 26 years. I was the Chief Innovation Officer, I was the Chief Operating Officer, and just worked my way up to the CEO role.
Right after graduation, August 28th, she asked me, when do we get married? I said, whenever you set the date. I think 2 months later, got married. I get drafted after that. I just bought a car, got in the car, drove to Milwaukee, and we started a family in 1984.
I'd like to say that, I've been in almost every producing basin in the United States, offshore wells that we've owned, and we've drilled deep, we've drilled horizontal. Our MO was to buy properties and enhance them, sell them, and then look for the next suite of properties to be enhanced. We
received the 5-star rating for public libraries. It's the highest rating of any that you can get in a public library. So we ranked 5th out of every library in the country that's on either coast. So the Tulsa City County Library is the 5th busiest library in the country.
I get lost on campus now, just looking at, this street wasn't here. I know that building wasn't there. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings, and then the football field. Where we are now was homes. Matter of fact, my mother lived right here, literally like a block.
I see TU preparing some of the best lawyers in the country now with these clinics that they have where they get to practice under the purview of a professor while they're still in school. And I do believe that the students coming out of there are going to change the world.
When you leave there, you get a degree that's meaningful. And I'm going to say an essential part of the future growth of this city and this state.
The future for TU is bright, it's strong, and I anticipate and expect it to continue to do well in the future.
And you look back and you see some of these players, you see some of the kids, and they grown up and they got, kids. And I said, hey, Coach, I remember you telling me this, and I remember you said this. I remember you said, okay. I said, it ain't all true, but there are a lot of truth in it. When they give you that feedback and make you feel like,
The reason that I got into real estate was probably through my brothers. We built the Federal Express facilities at the Tulsa International Airport and owned them.
Had these mentors growing up, the Montgomerys. They were the parents of my best friend, Mildred, and they were very active in justice. They were leaders in the community, but I saw how they interacted and how they took care of the whole community. Felt like I owed back because of what they did for me.
There are so many points of pride, and what brings me the most satisfaction and what makes me get up in the morning is that I get to help people live their dreams.
If I was going to say one thing that I'm the most proud of, globally, is helping others. We are really proud of what we're doing in Tulsa, downtown. We take these gems and remod them, and I like to say we recondition them for the next century.
I'm a godly man. I believe God has planted me on this earth to do what I'm doing now. And I'm so thankful that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you want to say, how many lives did I touch in the process of this, me being here?
I've always been proud to be a TU grad, and I always talk about my time at TU and that I graduated from TU. But I think to have this honor is very humbling, and it just says that the university is proud of me.
I first of all said, let me look this word up. Distinguish. Me? Voila. It was cool. I mean, it really was. I just looked back and said, distinguished alum is, to me, is what all those people I just talked about. That's what they mean to me. That's distinguished. That's what that means to me. Because without them help developing me, there would be no Paul Pressey.
There are so many more worthy people, in my estimation, that can be sitting in this seat because I've met them. They are plentiful University of Tulsa graduates that have done great things. When I got, I'm going, this is really one of the highest honors of my life.
You've heard of the imposter syndrome. I absolutely have it, but for good reason. Because I was not remarkable in college or law school. I had friends. I really cared about the professors, but I was not remarkable. I was a late bloomer, probably. But I remembered a lot that I learned, and that's how I've been able to have a successful career. But coming out of college and then law school, I would have been voted the least likely to get this award.
Ladies and gentlemen, as they join us on stage, please give a warm welcome to our newest TU Distinguished Alumni, Sue Ann Arnall, Kim Johnson, Paul Pressey, and Stuart Price.